Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. This is a podcast on Star Citizen that I do here on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. We talk about Star Citizen content, Star Citizen news, updates, and sometimes just very vague or specific topics. And today I'm joined by two regulars on the Captain's Table. I think once a year y'all both show up, at least once a year, if not more. Mr. Corsair and Crucian from Atmo Esports. I'll start with you, Mr. Corsair. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
That's very official, man. Mr. Corsair, I love it. Yeah,
I could say Master Corsair, please. You know.
Yeah, no, Mr.'s fine. I run events and tournaments, and we do a lot of activities within Star Citizen. The community are based around mostly ground racing and those activities, and we do a little bit of battle royale as well. But apart from running those events and kind of some of the administration behind that, and been doing that for about 5 years. Still, regular lover of the game. Definitely a bit of a haul, a bit of a salvager now, loving that. So, but primarily, a lot of my time is taken up with, kind of organizing and doing, like, talking to crew every day and getting organized for what we do in the tournament event space for Atmo Esports. So that's that takes up a lot of time of my life with a full-time job and a couple of kids, and that's pretty much what I do.
I feel you there. I don't know how I could do everything I can with a full-time job, so I can't imagine having children and then also doing all the things you do. It's like, okay, that's insane. I don't know. Do you handle it like I do, which is just don't sleep?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
it's
very little sleep.
All right.
You'll be amazed how much time you have when you cut out the sleep section. You still got a good solid 8 hours you could slam stuff into.
Exactly. Dedicate some time to the family and do everything after that, and then find sleep at some other time. So yeah, it's crazy.
Crew, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Hey, so I'm Crucian. I also help behind Atmo Esports. I'm pretty much the marketing director. So anything that falls along with the brand or social media or anything, I pretty much handle that stuff. I'm also I used to be a full-time Star Citizen content creator, but now I just stream part-time or once in a blue moon, while I'm behind the scenes working on all the other stuff. So you can easily find me on Crucian Gaming on Twitch or Twitter or anywhere else. And in Star Citizen, I like to do a lot of different things. I just got my dual sticks and my monster tech mount, so I'm able to hopefully start to learn to do a little bit of low flying and hopefully a little bit of dogfighting PvP, but I love also racing in the verse. I also like I'm not much of a cargo hauler, but also doing some FPS bunker missions. I love doing that stuff. Building up reputation. I think all that stuff in the game is super fun. Bounty hunting is also another thing. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I actually reached out to Crew recently for my lore stuff, because Crew was also in the Navy for a while. So I had a bunch of questions because I was doing a video on the squadrons of the UEE. So Crucian helped me out a lot with that as well. But yeah, I've known both y'all for, is it 5 years now?
It's been a while.
Yeah, 5 years.
It's been like half of Star Citizen's development time. So
yeah.
We're the OGs now, AstroPub.
I know. I know. It's so weird when you think about it, because I've been the OG for enough times to know, like, to see like 3 or 4 generations of content creators come and go for Star Citizen.
Come and go.
Yeah.
Wow. Yep. So let's talk about a little bit more about the ground gameplay. So that's kind of the big theme for this. We're going to talk a little bit more about upcoming events for Atmo Esports, so make sure you stick around for that, and things that are coming up, including things like CitizenCon, tournaments, and so on and so forth. But while I have these two connoisseurs of the ground game, I'm going to ask a few questions for them to see the kind of their whole things. But as always, I want to know your thoughts down below in the comments section. And if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, you can join us on chat as well at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and join in the conversations. But also, I would love to hear. Why am I blanking on this again? But also, yeah, let's just get into it. My brain is now mush. Crew. I'm going to start you off with this question.
Get it.
What is your current opinion on Tonk Royale? Because I know y'all do your what is that called?
Invented it. What are you talking about? Hurt Locker.
Yeah, the Herson Hurt Locker. Yeah.
The Herson Hurt Locker, right? Yeah, the Herson Hurt Locker, which is just like this giant like demolition derby in a crater in Hurston. Now that they're doing AC Hurston Hurt Locker effectively, what are your thoughts on this and just in general?
Well, I mean, it's not out yet, so I can't really like put into words what it is. But for Tank Royale overall, I feel like it's like to me is like, are you gonna be able to get into the into ACC and like get out of the tank, or are you stuck being in the in the tank, or so that's, I have so much questions about when they announce that stuff. Like, are people gonna be able to leave the tank and shoot the other tanks down with a rail gun or with other different weapons, with a a grenade launcher? So it's kind of difficult to see if that's the same thing that we run, because for the Hurston Hurt Locker, right, we run pretty much that event inside a crater, and then in that crater everybody has to find each other. Whereas in ACC, you're gonna have spawn points and different points where your teams can start from A to B. So I mean it's gonna be difficult, but I'm glad it's out there, because it makes it easier for us to kind of run a tournament or run something fun for the community, that where we don't have to take 30 minutes to an hour to set up. It'll take us a lot shorter, and people can respawn, and we can do things like best out of 3 tonk battles, and I think it'll make it fun overall. So I think the more they add to Arena Commander, because Arena Commander right now doesn't see too much of a high demand for people to go in and play. People rather go into PU. I would love to see that more people go into ACC to practice, with vehicles and different things, and then applying that into the PU. So I think it's great overall. But I think we still need to see, when it comes out, what are the capabilities of what we're going to be able to do in the mode, and what we're not going to be able to do in the mode.
Okay, so you're not, so you're tentatively looking forward to it when it comes to, like, say, Atmo Esports, like doing something like that, or like, even because I know y'all do like a lot of practices, and it can be kind of a pain to try to set everything up in burst. But
yes,
okay. Corsair, same question. Your initial thoughts on Tonk Royale and kind of its implementation into Arena Commander.
Yeah, so like I think Christian hit a little with for us with the tournament, or it is kind of always like a PU versus mechanically created menu-based system event. We need to decide, or most of the time we're waiting for that to occur. I think Hurston Hurt Locker is a perfect example of that. I think we introduced the military division at a later date, so it wasn't initially in our first iteration of Hurston Hurt Locker, and it came later. And we honestly, be very, very honest about this, we did struggle finding a crater and arena that was kind of big enough to handle the tanks, and also the terrain that they could traverse and still have cover and all of that. So it was actually quite a difficult task to find something that was still kind of Hurston Hurt Locker related, but an arena that was large enough. And I think that not taking it out of the PU is going to solve that issue for us as well. But I think I'm also interested in what Russian said about being able to leave your vehicle and still do FPS parts of what we do, because we did announce Hurston Hurt Locker as a battle royale. We do contain it within Crater. We don't have a shrinking space, but you are locked into that arena space. So I'd like to think that this has come from what we've done. And I'm very interested to see what you do, because we would like it. It is difficult to set up in PU, so I'm really keen to see what they do with it. And I would definitely say that we might be doing tournaments in this space, but as is now, Hurston Hurt Locker is on hold this year, and we are redeveloping something new and fresh for that, and it will most likely be called Hurt Locker, and it's still going to be an FPS environment based event. So that's changing for us as well. So it's good timing that the Tank Royale's coming out, because it may give us the option to do both. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Awesome. So, Corsair, I'll start with you, kind of a follow-up question for this one. Is there anything in Arena Commander coming out that y'all are looking forward to in terms of events that you're looking to put on? Because it seems like the Arena Commander systems are that's a huge overhaul and becoming a lot more diverse. Is there anything you would like? Say you had DJ, who may or may not be watching this right now. I don't know. Sometimes he does pop up. Come on, and just be like, you get his ear. What would you kind of be pitching for, or hoping for from an Arena Commander?
Well, it all comes down to, like, Daymar Rally is a PU environment-based race. It's never going to change. We want the community to be involved in that. We like the live camera stuff, the security, salvage will get involved in that, medical, all of that stuff will get heavily involved in the demo rally. So that kind of thing would stay in the PU forever. But obviously with Fight or Flight, we are actually just biding our time with Fight or Flight in PU. We move that over to Arena Commander as soon as possible. It looks like this might be our last year that we have to persevere with that, because it does extend our set time quite considerably. We want to move that to Arena Commander. It doesn't need to be in the PU because it's really not a community-based kind of like staffing tool. Like, you don't really need it. It's just the camera work's too difficult in Fight or Flight, so moving to Arena Commander for that just makes perfect sense, and I know crew feels the same way. So that's the biggest one. We've been waiting that for probably a year and a half, 2 years. We've been asking the question to them for, when's it getting fixed? When private lobby's getting fixed? When's it getting fixed? So just so we can get that moved over. So that's a huge one, and I think Herlocker has the potential. If S7, there's a possibility that if they have enough tracks in that space, we might be able to do it. But I'd say it'd probably stay with PE for quite some time. But yeah, I don't know. Fight or Flight, 100%. Yeah.
Christian, same thing. Anything you were looking forward to? You think might be used for Atmo?
Yeah, I think I'm a bit scared, to be honest, and this is the reason why. I think that I'm not sure if DJ ever mentioned a spectator mode or anything in ACC. They haven't mentioned anything at all. So I really hope that they don't just release ACC and once it's working well, they don't input a spectator mode, because that's so important for what we're doing. But, to piggyback off what Corsair said, like to be able to open up some of these tournaments and not limit it to only 64 people, but open it up to the entire community, regardless of whether you're good or not, because we should be able to kind of control the scenarios of people, whether it's dogfighting or ground combat, and just cycling people a lot faster through these tournaments. We'll love to do that, but as you mentioned, Daymar Rally and other PU events, we want to kind of build upon the Daymar Rally and other PU events, so that way we're also having something in the PU that people can also look forward to, because the Daymar Rally, we have so many people that race. Last year we had about 736 competitors, or probably more. So we kind of want to continue growing that and making sure that people know, like, hey, some of these events are never ever going to take place in Arena Commander. We're going to continue doing them in the PU, and they're open for people that want to are experienced or not. We want these tournaments to be for everybody. But yeah, I'm just a little bit scared that they don't put in a spectator mode in ACC, and I'm hoping that they do, and I'm hoping that they do something that we can continue to kind of build upon for our tournaments.
Okay. So it's a kind of good segue into talking about the next part, which is, I'll ask you this question, Crew, starting with this. Is there anything, because we know in the past, CIG has looked at community content and said, let's support that, especially with, let's say, the current spaceship racing, which everyone's happy about and really looking forward to. But we know in the past, CIG has attempted to do ground racing, and it was a terrible disaster.
Yes.
So with, say, CIG doing things like the road systems, which has been talked about off and on, and with CIG starting to promote and support more community content, and with racing specifically, is there anything you would like to see added to the PU to support y'all, like System 7 racetracks, or say some sort of way of doing marking the pathways for Daymar Rally, other aspects? What would be your kind of wish list for those sorts of support? So how could CIG support y'all and groups like that, y'all better?
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions between this, and I think one of the biggest things is just have it I think they've talked about this in the past, but haven't really implemented it, is having a race kit where where we can have checkpoints without having to go do box missions, maybe a light beam or something, or checkpoints where we can just share with other party members is a massive deal. Being able to control your party members as well. Hey, if we have 200 people in a party, I want to turn off all these markers and only be able to see the racers. I don't want to see the staff, or be able to control party a little bit more. Another thing with that being said is that what makes ship racing to me very exciting is that you can control your speeds. You have control over your boost. You have this and that. We need that in ground racing. Right now, ground racing is a little bit stale, to be honest with you. I'm happy that the new ground mechanics are coming, but there is no excitement and no differentiation of how good is somebody compared to others, right? Because the vehicle doesn't have a boost, the vehicle doesn't have a handling category. So to be able to kind of bring that a little bit into the PU where somebody can change out a part or a transformer of a vehicle to get a little bit better boost or a little bit better handling will really make ground racing a little bit more exciting, kind of like how you can change the parts and ships. So I think with those few things, I think it will definitely enhance the experience in just ground vehicles in general. And that will trickle into racing.
Okay. So basically the improvements, a lot of the stuff that they want to do for like 320 with like the traction changes and some of the other things. And I'm gonna have Crew, because I know Crew and I are both big fans. We're we're the chairman and CEOs of the Ranger fan club. So so I have to ask the question: Are we going to, when the Ranger gets added to the game? Are we going to see a specific Ranger event that's going to be run by Atmo Esports? And when is it? And when can I apply to join? Can we get an Akira brace or something like that through?
To answer that, we just recently did the Grey Cat Social 2953, which we try to. Well, it is a record. We had about 70 plus racers. We were trying to go for 100, but it's still one of the biggest races in Star Citizen history, especially for the community. But I think we would want to do the same with a Ranger, like do like a big Ranger event where we have like, if the server caps ever increase to 200, let's get 170. 180 plus, Rangers to just go and have a really fun race out there. Maybe, have ramps where you can jump through a C2 with the Ranger. So I think there's definitely some planning once we know when that vehicle is coming out.
All right. Corsair, same question to you when it comes to things like how could CIG better support events like y'all in the future?
Yeah, I think CIG start to trust you when you have stayed with the community for a long time, and you do regular content, do produce content that they seem appropriate for the audience and for the community. And we've had the opportunity to submit things that we want, nothing confirmed or anything like that. But for the demo rally and for things like the 7, submit PU tools, submit updates to the rally and inclusions and stuff like that. And they've definitely been open to hearing us, listening to us, and recording that information. And fingers crossed for us that at some point that they get to add all those things. So like Crew said, we submitted those quick checkpoints with like vertical light beams so you can see the checkpoints from a distance, and just tools to make it quicker and easier in the PU based system. When it comes to Arena Commander, I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of different ways that they would handle that, and something that we haven't really discussed them. But BTR is a great example of that kind of inclusion. It is a cool little track. It was a bit of a surprise. It was nice to see that implemented. I think it's a much better inclusion than what they were doing, those PU based racing missions, which were not fun. I didn't find fun at all. And BTR is a cool example of that. And I know if doing BTR, I would imagine that Arena Commander is going to get that kind of treatment that ship racing gets. And I'm keen as far as like roads and things go. Like we do love creating tracks within the PU, and finding our own paths and doing that. So I'm not sure how roads would get involved in that unless they let us build a track and then they lay roads on it for us, which I don't really see that occurring. But we're not devs, or but you never know. Like a race creator tool in the distant future, you can build your own tracks and stuff like that, which has happened in many other games before. A track editor, things like that would be cool to see. And we could change, like S7 could change every year, like we do now if we had like a track editor. But also, like Crucian mentioned before, spectator modes and cameras are always a concern for us. So if they do include that into something like Arena Commander, we need to know that we can support with those tools and be able to hold our events they would like to, because the broadcast is a huge part of what we do. Obviously, the entertainment value of is what we're after, as well as the community racing side of things too. So yeah, fingers crossed. We've submitted some cool stuff, and I think also said some cool stuff to us, and we just need to wait and see if they like hold their word to those things. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I've always been a big proponent of like having something like the BTR, but like an actual like racetrack.
Yeah, large scale.
Large scale.
Yep.
Like in the US we've got Formula One and IndyCar racing, and then we also have like NASCAR racing and those sorts of things. Like those exist. Why can't we have those in CIG?
Yeah, BTR reminds me. BTR reminds me of Mario Kart, and
Yeah.
like you said,
Yep.
going larger than that would be where we'd like to go. But yeah, we got a Mario Kart track.
So, Corsair, I'll start with you this next question, because we've been talking mostly kind of about Atmo Esports and some of the other stuff y'all do and these sorts of these things. But let's talk about ground gameplay as a whole. Because right now there's not really a real reason to bust out the Steves or the Tonks or any of those sorts of things other than just kind of for fun. What would you like to see, or anything you would suggest to how CIG could make ground gameplay more engaging for your average person?
I think it's Crew kind of just hit on this before, but basically there's not a lot of variables to improving or customizing your racing experience. We know that components and fuel stuff and repair is all going to come in, and those things are going to make it a hell of a lot more entertaining. So once those come in and you can upgrade things and change things out, and then you're then not only competing from a physical standpoint, but you're also competing with your knowledge and how to upgrade your vehicle to maximize its capability. So all of those customization options are going to make what we do far more interesting. The demo rally is going to get a huge boost when all of those aspects come, because we want to remove spare vehicles completely from the rally, and you have to get one vehicle to the end across the 500 kilometers. So to maintain that vehicle to get the whole way, you don't spare. So if you break down, your support craft's there to help get that up and running again and continue race. So like things like that are going to change for the rally. S7's going to change with those customizable parts, and the other aspect of it is, which Crew also mentioned, is like there's not a lot of difference between all the cyclones are pretty much the same. Boost is kind of average broken. Like the Ursa range is kind of the same. Like even the speeds are very close. Like there's a lot of variation. There's not a lot of excitement in choice. And I think once customization comes in and a bit of choice, it's just going to make it more exciting. But being repaired going to be cool. I think I'm really looking forward to that coming. But I don't know. There's still a lot to come. Still a lot promised that we haven't even seen yet. They're only just really implementing more vehicles, and like we're all big fans of the Ranger at Atmo Esports. I think every single person like a Ranger fan. So you're definitely going to get that race when it comes out. That's for sure. But yeah, just the customization. And I've been, since the day I really started, that was always the initial plan, is to like have all of those tools included in the race itself, instead of just replacing the vehicle with another one and continuing. Okay. I don't know, there's heaps to come.
Crew, what would you like to see to make ground gameplay more engaging for your average person?
I think that the same thing they did with racing in game, they should do with ground vehicles. Doing checkpoints, having probably like a somewhat of an in-game leaderboard or something, where people can pull out a vehicle and go through these checkpoints and start start that mission or start that race the same way you would do with ship vehicles, so that way people can get a little bit more excited. Obviously I'm not sure if I haven't tried the ship racing yet, so I'm not sure if they give you money if you hit like gold, silver, or platinum or whatever it is, but that could also be something that they can do. Like, hey, if you hit silver, gold this one time on this track, they'll give you 15,000 AUEC, something like that. So I think the same thing that I think they're implementing that makes people excited to get to like race in game is the same thing that they should do. Yeah, do it for ground vehicles. I know they tried it before, but I think that they didn't try the way they did it with ship racing. So just find some good spots, or just build things around like Lorville now that you can drive around in. Like, do things around there that could make it easy track for people to kind of compete and have a small leaderboard, or get platinum on that track and gain some UEC for doing that. I think that would be a cool aspect in game that they can add.
Awesome. All right. So now we're kind of moving on to like what's some of the updates from Atmo Esports, because I know y'all been pretty much to every live CitizenCon since like 2017, 2018. Yep. What's y'all's plans for CitizenCon this year? Are we going to get anything crazy or?
Sorry, my headset fuzzed out. I didn't hear any of that. I had complete static across the whole question. Sorry.
So you've been to every CitizenCon since CitizenCon was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what's planned this year? Because I know y'all going to CitizenCon this year. So like, do you have anything talking about, or you know?
Yeah, well, each year it's been a different experience with us. That CRG, like I went. Oh,
You're good. You should be done.
Sorry, I'm back. The very first time I went, I had to submit to get a community booth. There was only 4 community booths for that first time that they opened that up. So I was fortunate to submit for that. I did a proposal and all of that, and was able to be included, which was a great experience. Which honestly allowed me to have easier access to following years to submit, knowing that we can produce something that is at least useful in that community space, and something a little bit unique to other providers. But and each year it's just gotten larger and larger for us, and we've been able to have little conversations, and they've opened hearts to us a little bit, and this year we're going to be able to level it up again. Like we've got a lot of exciting news to come, but we kind of still have to wait a little bit longer. We're still waiting for some confirmations and stuff like that, but we're definitely going to have a pretty cool present this year. But not only that, it's going to be the first time, especially after COVID, the first time that the majority of our Atmo Esports team is going to be in LA, and we're going to do a lot of things around the convention as well. Like we're going to have our own place to hang out, and we're going to have like little activations happening around CitizenCon, and like photo opportunities, giveaways. We're just going to really have a large presence at CitizenCon, and we've got some other stuff which we can't really talk about right now, but this year is going to be the biggest. It's going to be the biggest, man. It's going to be. We're all so excited to catch up the team and just experience this one. And it feels like it's been a few years, so it's going to be to catch up with everyone that we used to see. And I met Crucian at CitizenCon in Austin. That's when we first met each other. We were introduced, and we had a kind of similar outlook on what we wanted to do. So that's how we hooked up and started working together. So yeah, if I hadn't have been to the CitizenCon, I wouldn't have crew, and probably be exactly where we are right now. So it's been extremely fortunate to meet this man and have such a good 5-year run. So yeah, CitizenCon support, to be honest.
Yeah, I think people don't realize how much CitizenCon has become part of the community over time. I've heard people talk about how CitizenCon is kind of it delays development a lot, but like if you haven't really been to a live CitizenCon, it's hard to explain the vibe of CitizenCon.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
I was gonna say that I'm pretty sure somewhere in the background, right, they were probably discussing like should they even have one. I'm pretty sure there's some type of discussion between CIG internally that they were like, man, should we really do this, or should we crunch down on development? But man, being gone for this long since COVID, man, it's so tough. And there's a lot of controversy out there where people are like, oh, I'm not gonna go if I don't get a premium ticket because I want the full experience. Look, man, I promise you, you don't need one for the full experience. The community is the full experience. If you're a content creator and you don't go because you don't have a premium ticket, man, meeting your community there is a full experience. So I'm telling you, like, if you can afford it, if you can help support, I would say take the regular ticket and 100% go, because you're gonna miss out on the best time of your life. I went to Con 42, or we went to Con 42. We had the best time, and there was only like 500 to 600 people there, and it wasn't even the full community. It was just like the people around Europe. But in LA, we're gonna have possibly 2,000 or 3,000, however many people are going to be there, man. It's going to be such a great time. And I know we're going to have a fun. And even though there's a party after, Ben, like I think it was in Austin, which was the last one I went to. I didn't went to the one in UK. Literally, Chris Roberts was there the whole time talking to people, talking to the community. He was literally standing by. He didn't go anywhere till like late in the afternoon or late in the evening, talking to as much people as he could. And Austin only had around, I think, 1,500 to 2,000, citizens there. So, you're going to be able to meet some of your favorite people, regardless of whether you have a premium ticket or not. So just putting it out there.
Yeah, there's probably a bit of criticism around the fact that they hold it and the development time and cost and whatnot. But honestly, like, how else are you going to tie the community to a project better than meeting people in the flesh and interacting and having that opportunity to talk to develop and having it honestly is just such a good experience, and it's got a phenomenal vibe. Like if you go to Evo or Gamescom, it's completely different to those kinds of conventions. It's its own game. It's like it's just everyone's there for the same purpose. No one's for something else. Everyone's there for the same thing. So it's just you just meet so many people. You have so many good conversations. It's a phenomenal time. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's to put into perspective, you get a swag bag if you got the premium ticket, and you get to go to a party at the CIG offices. I believe is where the party is happening. And as much I've been to LA and the Austin offices multiple times, and as cool as it is, it's an office. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's cool, but it's an office. You've seen an office before. Mm-hmm. It's just an office with Star Citizen decorations on it. You're not really getting an inside scoop on development, because a lot of the stuff like that even I saw was under NDA when I went to those places were out within a year of what it was, and it wasn't a lot of the stuff was stuff that's already happened. So if you're like, I really wanted to get the premium experience, just show up. Like you'll be able to talk to everyone, and it's including, like, I cannot tell you enough. I got cornered by the guy who's in charge of PES at the 2018 Citizen Con, and he just talked to me for like 20 minutes about the difficulties of PES, and I was just like, what? And he was dumped on me. All right. Like other CIG employees I know, like, Paul, come talk to him. And I was like, what? And I was just sitting there like, I have no idea what this man is saying, but I'm trying to nod along. So if you're your average citizen, as long as you recognize if someone and you approach them, talk to them, they will talk to you. Like, it was cool. In 2018, Diablos was there in his full cosplay outfit, and he walked up to Jay Lee in the full cosplay outfit, and Jay Lee was having an existential crisis because he's like, I designed that suit. I've never didn't expect to see it in the flesh. Like, I've never seen anything I've done created as a suit. And there's some really cool cosplay crew that they all hang out together and talk with each other. It's really detailed and such. So. Yeah.
I think this year itself is gonna have the most cosplays ever. But I mean, you've been to the LA office, AstroPub, so this is not NDA, but that office, it ain't that big. So
it's
luck
tiny.
to everybody.
Yeah, it's tiny. That's the real reason why they sold so little tickets. Is if the party's in the LA office, it's like that's not a lot. Like, that's not a lot of space for a party. If the Austin office is small, that's really size. Go ahead.
Fast car chat there. I met Fast for the first time at the Austin Citizen Con as well, and I wouldn't have that opportunity outside of Citizen Con. So it's cool. G'day, Fast Car. How you doing, man?
Yeah. Fast Card is for those who don't know, Fast Card's birthday is the same week. Is usually the same week as Citizen Con. So usually, whenever Fast Card goes to a Citizen Con, we celebrate Fast Card's birthday as well as Citizen Con. So. He's got the same birthday as Star Citizen. All right. System 7 just finished, right? How did that go? And what is System 7 for people who don't know, who aren't used to that?
Yeah, System 7 was it was a big year as far as organization goes. Our logistics man Zul, he had a pretty rough year. We had a lot of issues and bugs and vehicle-related problems that we had to do some scheduling. For the first time, we actually rescheduled a race for the first time ever in the history of what we do. So as far as that goes, we had a fairly rough year, and we had another race change as well. But honestly, apart from those two major switches and schedule updates, it ran really smooth. We had a team meeting before we came on here, and thanking the team and a bit of a debrief about what it was like. I think we've kind of created this team over the course of 5 years that are very consistent and quite regular. Everyone kind of has a lot of love for each other, and we can kind of trust them. And I think that team has really been able to adjust and move and have enough knowledge to help get us through this year, because it is very tight on the back end to do a lot of the things that we do. Then there's a lot of people involved. Esports has probably a casual volunteer rate of about 10 to 15 people, but when we have big events, we expand that probably about 20, 25, 30. But when it's Day Early, we go even further and we have even more people come in. It's just a massive undertaking. So 7 was tough this year in as far as logistics go, but I think as far as what we delivered broadcast, I think we're pretty happy with the result. I think we were able to overcome a lot of those issues and make it still look a full of competitive event. So, it's fun. We love S7. I think it has a special place in our heart because it is really a true league ground racing experience. in what we do. So it is different to the PvP aspect and the rally. So we always love it. It's just longer than our other events, but yeah.
Give me the elevator pitch for those people who have no idea what the System 7 is.
Yeah, System 7 is a ground racing league tournament set over 7 races on 7 different tracks within currently the standard system, but we are expanding that when the systems reach out further, and we will be having races from anywhere in the galaxy. So you'll be able to see that. So every year it'll change, but it is a Formula 1 style point system, rule system. So if you want to compare it to anything, F1 is probably closest as far as struck goes, but it is a ground racing league tournament set over seven races each year.
We mentioned Fight or Flight earlier. How is Fight or Flight going this year? Because I was in the first Fight or Flight, got knocked out in the first round, but I was in the first Fight or Flight. All right. So what's going on for this?
Yeah, you were in the first creator one that we did with Toby. Shout out to Toby. They're always great partners. But Fight or Flight is your Super Bowl 2v2 dogfighting tournament for the community, right? Last year we only did it with 32 teams. The first 32 teams that signed up is the ones we took. This year we're going a bit further because we're doing it in the PU. We did 64 teams this year, so we doubled it, and then hopefully once we go in Arena Commander, which we talked about, then we won't have a cap because we'll be able to cycle through things a lot faster and kind of get have as many people that wants to compete as they can. So this year we're doing it again in the PU. This year we're doing it a little bit different, where these 64 teams are going to be able to do best of 3. We're gonna, instead of best of 1 like we did in previous years, we're gonna try to do them in waves. And we're just trying to figure out. It's gonna be a logistic nightmare, but we always make it work. We're gonna do our best to to kind of make sure that everybody can compete at the highest level. This year the rule book's already up, so if you head over to ammo.gg, you can click on the Fight or Flight page, go there. We're doing it. So we're doing the group stage. The group stage is where we have all 64 teams. We have group A, B, C, and D. We have 16 teams in each group, which is going to be 8 matches, and then pretty much is going to trickle down all the way to the top 8. Once we go to the top 8, it's going to be another tournament day, which is going to be the final stage. And then the top 8 will compete in a double elimination tournament, which then is going to give us, our champion at that point. So August 19 is going to be the group stage day, which is going to be all the groups that are going to fight.
What was that again?
64 teams. August 19th.
August 19th. Okay.
Yep. And then September 2nd, which is 2 weeks after, the top 8 will be able to compete in that double elimination bracket. So it's going to be a very, it's going to be a very, very. It's going to be like hopefully our last tournament within the PU and our last tournament in this flight model. So we're kind of very excited for this year. But we have some other special stuff for Fight or Flight coming up that we can't even talk about. We'll hopefully talk about it soon. But let's just say that this year's Fight or Flight, the reason why we made it best of 3 is because the stakes are a lot higher. There's some incredible prizing for some of the top teams that if they make top 4, that they are going to get some really cool and special prizes that we'll announce hopefully by the end of the month.
Yeah, just real quick, there's only technically like 3 spots left available to register and then to sign up. So if you really want to get involved in that, do it quickly. We might have a few teams drop out on the waiting list, but if you do want to get involved, you should do it now, real quick.
Yep.
There we go. Sorry, I muted myself real quick. So speaking of all of this, tournaments, right? What tournaments in Star Citizen? Like the future of tournaments and in general in tournaments. What are you looking forward to, or what are you hoping for in the future with these sorts of tournaments?
Man, I love this topic. I'll kick it off here. Yeah. This is such a crazy topic because if you notice, all of our events are free to register. All of our events, our tournaments are just free for the community. We're just trying to create a competitive gameplay loop for the people out there that really want to be competitive right now. Now, the game itself, obviously, we deal with desync. We deal with a lot of bugs. We deal with a lot of different things because the game is not fully fleshed out yet. So because of that, that means that we don't have competitive integrity. Because we don't have a competitive integrity, we don't put up prize pools with money. We don't do any of that right now. in the future, once the game is in a better place and has competitive integrity, that's when I would like to start. That's when our group, or not I, sorry, our group at Atmo would like to start implementing things like a monetary value for competing, because now desync is not holding you back and nothing's holding you back. At that point, you will be able to compete at your fullest extent of your ability, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of hopefully make some extra cash in the future. So that's where we're kind of hoping, where I think tournaments are gonna want to end up going to. And obviously the ones that like Demo Rally and public ones that we'll host will stay in the PU, but we're hoping that for the ones that are become super competitive, we want to make sure that we put them, like Fight or Flight. We want to make sure that we put them into ACC, because that way, we don't have pirates trying to mess with us or anybody at all, and they can compete without having any worries about anybody attacking them at that point. So that's where I see the future going, but we still have a long ways to go, because the game still needs server meshing, still needs systems to be put in place, all that good stuff. So yeah.
So yeah, like that's one part of what we do. The other thing that we've aiming towards and have some upcoming opportunities is actually doing what we do in a physical space as well. So being able to do what we do on a stage and tournament, and we've had some good discussions this year, so we really feel like we're on our way to that position where we can do physical environment events, but like Christian said, like removing variables that can cost people a match or a round is still a very important thing that we need to kind of wait for. We can't have big prizes and a lot on the line when something really small that we can't control can affect the outcome of a match. So that's a huge thing. But simultaneously working towards both of these outcomes, physical and big prizes, fair results, and those kinds of things. So yeah, we really feel like this year we're pushing towards all those goals. Like it's pretty exciting to be where we are right now.
Yeah, because for those of you who don't know how difficult it is, I used to be the a very primitive version of what Atmo Esports is doing here, which was I forgot the name of it. It was just a PvP arena commander crew that I had to I was the broadcast and like the main, like behind everything, the man behind the curtains, and it's hard to describe how bad Arena Commander is right now.
Yeah.
I will definitely echo the sentiment that Arena Commander really needs an updated spectator mode. You just need a much better spectator mode. And with the amount of content out there that are getting like photo modes, like I think even Starfield is getting a photo mode now. Like Star Citizen has no excuse to not do an in-depth photo mode and kind of filming mode and stuff like that. But I'll ask, with all that, because a lot of this is broadcasted and done, if you were to talk to CIG about some of these things, like spectator mode, or maybe even some way of getting cameras into the PU, what would you want them to focus on when it comes to these sorts of capturing these events? Would it be more broadcast side, maybe like broadcasting into the verse, or more just getting cameras that you can have more fine control over? I'll start with you, Corsair, on that one.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think PU versus Arena Commander is going to be something that's very interesting when we transition to that and understanding how the spectator mode is going to work with how we currently broadcast. Christian would have ideas on that as well, but it's an integral part of what we do in the cast is show what the races or the competitors are doing. And like we've spent a lot of time working with our broadcast software. We basically have 3 producers, including Crucian, on the back end of what we do, constantly trying to make things work, and with a limited amount of space we can take cameras as well at this point. So as far as spectator mode coming into that, like I'd like to treat it the same way. Christian might have a different idea on this, but I'd like to treat it the same way that we do the PU cameras. That vibe is really cool. I think I'd like to keep that vibe, but obviously you're not going to get that PU like helicopter kind of feel from those cameras anymore. Spectator mode is going to be a much smoother motion and different motion and vertical and horizontal instant changes and all that kind of stuff. So it is going to be a different look. But I still think all our broadcasts will still have the same vibe. I think we would still display them in a similar way. Our producers would cut to different cameras the way they do now. I think broadcast it will only just look smoother, but that just comes down to the fact that we're in AC versus PU, and we will never. I never want to go spectator mode in PU. To be honest, I think like involving the community as cameras is just something that actually built us up as a team. I think that's actually the one thing that made us kind of interesting to the community is actual community members controlling the cameras and using a ship to do that. I never want to lose that. Like, I love that. I started doing that when I first started doing the demo rally. I was involved in that whole experience as well, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I never want to lose that. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think for the PU, the Mako, right, being able to use the tools that they're giving us to, in the PU to be able to get those views and those cameras. I would not want to change that, right? I would not want to change any spectator mode in the PU. I wouldn't want to do any of that. I want the PU to be the PU, and as Corsair said, continue to use those tools that they're giving us in order to capture that footage, whether, for those events. But when it comes to the ACC, I hope that becomes a little bit more intricate, right? So say if we have, if we have a tournament going on and we have spectators that come in and join the party and they're actually spectator, we want spectators to have camera controls. So saying the spectators can, if we have, let's say, 18 people competing, they'll be able to lock into that person's view, whoever they are, be able to choose from that list of whoever's competing, be able to choose that view and maybe have like when we hit I think it's F4 in game and have 3 different camera views. I'm hoping that the spectators can also have that as well, right? Being able to control hold down Z and control the free movement of the camera, just like in the spectator mode in Arena Commander. So I think that's where we used to have that back in the 2.6 days. We had the custom lobbies and we had somewhat of a minimalistic spectator mode, and I think having that back would be just fine. But we would definitely need to take it up a little bit of a higher level, especially in ACC. But I think that would be fine to start off with, just having where you can lock into somebody, and if you want to watch a different player, you go watch a different player. But say if we're doing a 2v2 tournament, we can have 4 spectators. Those 4 spectators can just lock into each individual competitor, and then we won't need to scramble to have competitors share their cameras with us via an NDI or SRT via OBS, and it would kind of kill so many setup things that would make things a lot smoother. But yeah, in the PU, I would keep it exactly the same. The Mako, maybe having camera drones would be cool. That would be incredible. But it's on their court, to be honest, man. I don't want to, I wouldn't want them to push development at us because we want a spectator mode. I would want them to go on whatever path that they're on and whatever roadmap they have already going on. So yeah.
Yeah, I always ask that whenever I talk to people who deal with a lot of production stuff, because it's always interesting to see so much. Because Machinima folks have their own kind of applications, and the one thing I've noticed is that almost everyone is like, we don't want this to break the game. We just want to be able to get cool shot angles and stuff like that. So, all right.
Yep.
I guess the last thing we wanted to bring up was Hurt Locker. What is the development of Hurt Locker and how it's going to change here? Do you have any ideas, any tips? First off, what is Hurt Locker? So people who don't know, because we've mentioned it a couple times, but for the people who don't know.
Yep. Yeah, Hurt Locker is something I mentioned a bit earlier in the podcast, but basically it is a battle royale set currently on Hurston. Within a crater, we have a civilian and a military division, and as many teams as they sign up can drop into this crater and fight it out to have the last person survive and win their match. And we have a series of matches, and we have the military tonks of it and the civilian version of that. But it is basically, people call it a destruction derby, but it is technically a battle royale within a single space, and that's pretty much what it is. But we enjoy the tournament, but it just, I don't know, it needs a little bit of a facelift. That once we added the military edition, it became a little bit harder to manage, and I think we want to improve what it is. We also want to have something that is more FPS focused in what we do as well, even though initially we thought, we're in the ground racing space and we do a lot of stuff with ground vehicles. We'll incorporate the ground vehicles. We're also thinking that we want to have a tournament that has an FPS aspect to it. We've got the PvP dogfighting, which is something that is separate from our ground racing. We want to also do something like that in the FPS space as well. So Hurt and Hurt Locker will most likely at this point become Hurt Locker, so that we can move around the verse and wherever we will put it. And then we'll be doing FPS more focused events under that name. So it's got a hiatus this year. It's not happen in October. CitizenCon is too big for us this year, to be honest. So we're giving it a bit of a break. Next year it'll come back with a completely new face, and yeah, we'll have a different experience for you guys next year. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for our discussion section. We'll move on to the question and answer section. As always, go to atmo.gg to check out any of these Atmo esports, and make sure you can follow Corsair and Crucian on their social medias, just like it's spelled on there for Twitter and Threads and Blue Sky and wherever they are. There's so many social medias now. So,
oh man.
And if you enjoyed this, make sure you are following us on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and subscribe for more content like this. I try to do this every week, and we do it live, and then it comes live afterwards. And if you're interested in the question and answers, and you're watching this well after the fact, on the Monday when I release this episode, right above Crucian's head will be, right above Corsair's head will be a link to the VOD, so you can see the entirety of this section and the question and answer section, because I know how many of you are in the hashtag Shelley Work Squad and are listening to this because you're doing some code in the background or doing other things, and you put this in the background. So if that's you, make sure you check that out so you can get the full experience. But like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. I'm going to use the restroom real quick, and feel free to grab some water and stuff like that. But you're all still live and stuff that will go right into the question and answers. So
yeah, cool, man.
You're back. Hold on to the question and answer session. All right, I've returned. Double check. Oh, we're looking for crew to come back. All right. So, hey, Eric McKetton, how you doing, buddy? Been trying to do the Foundation Festival event, and the guides are slacking. Slacking. No one shows. Yeah, it can be a problem. The guide system, I think, needs to be brought into game and have some more like reputation based stuff. So, all right, you ready, crew?
Yeah.
Good. I just want to make sure you're good. All right. Put this on here. see this.
Oh, man.
It's at about 53:30. All right. Welcome back to the question and answer session with Crucian and Corsair from Atmo Esports. Again, check out Atmo Esports at atmo.gg for all the kind of stuff, and of course all their social medias. This is the section of the stream that we're going to of the podcast where we're going to answer questions from the audience. So I have the questions. We have 18 questions so far. And the first question is from Akuma Tensi _Kuro, who asks, so it came up while watching ISC the other day with the wife. Are you related to Jared Huckabee? I am not related to Jared Huckabee. I know Jared. I've known Jared for many, many years. We both have beards and we're both from California, but no, we are not related. But he is a wonderful person. Fun fact: he used to work for Pixar, I believe. He used for Disney. He worked for Disney at one point. So that man's got a career. Like, he could fill a storybook with his careers of how many game companies and other media companies he's worked for while in LA. So
that's cool.
Yep.
I have to sit down and get him to talk to me about some of this stuff. So, like, what did he do in Disney and all that kind of stuff? Because he's also worked like in production. Like, he's not just done like video stuff. He's worked like on video games in various developments capacities. So, all right, next question comes from Akuma Tensi Kuro, who asks, any chance we'll be able to use the upcoming rope physics for marking our path through caves with long, thin rope, as spelunkers often run a rope from the entrance to help them on the way back? What do you think, Crew? Do you think we're going to see anything like that with the rope physics?
That could be a thing, but like, I think for the rope physics though, like, are we going to be able to attach it to the side of a cave to mark that stuff? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't see why not, man. I don't see why not. But what happens if somebody comes and just grabs it and just runs off with it at the beginning of the cave? Then you're kind of screwed at that point. So,
well, but people most likely use fairs at this point, right? Like, drop a few fairs on your way through and use that to come out. But hey, look, if we can make a Dakar style 500-kilometer race, you can probably do whatever you want as far as cave roping goes.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what CIG wants to do with the cave rope, with roping, because we know that they've been developing rope tech for a while, and like physics, and they even have like block and tackle and other
cloth stuff.
Stuff. There's a lot of stuff, and I've always felt like a lot of this stuff is more heavily focused on Squadron. Like, I'm assuming that rope has to do with like rope puzzles, like Half-Life and other sorts of things have, and so it'll be interesting to see how it gets adapted to the PU, because CIG is one of those like use every part of the buffalo sort of thing. They're like they have rope physics. They're going to find a way to put it into Star Citizen. So I'd love to see it in climbing though. That'd be cool.
There's so many different things that it's not even out yet, like parachuting, sky. Like, there's so many different things that
fast roping. From the side of like the Valkyrie or something like that.
Yep.
All right, so next question comes from Nova, who asked this question a lot, and I'll start with you on this, Crucian. What is your first ship, or what was your first ship? What is your favorite ship, and what is your dream/holy grail ship? So the way that this usually works is, what was the first ship you got? What's the ship you like, your favorite right now, or just in general? And then if there is a ship that is to come out, like something you're really looking forward to, or a ship an idea of a ship, like say from another franchise, or just kind of role that hasn't fit yet. What would you like?
Yeah, so I got my first package in 2015, which was the Mustang Alpha. So that's the first ship I've ever got. My current favorite ship that I usually like to fly a lot, honestly, is the Mercury. Very versatile. You can play chess on it. I mean, come on, chess, man. That's all you needed. That's all you need in games. You need to play anything else? You need to do bounties? No, you play chess. All right, you play chess for AUEC, man. You can do it in game. But anything that's
So the question I have is, when we're going to have the Atmo Esports chess tournaments,
I don't know, man. I'd rather just go to chess.com for now. Imagine like everybody trying to like get up to then drop it to then man, that's gonna be the longest chess match in history. Man. Well, I'm not even doing that right now. But
when's the chess clock, CIG? We need the chess clocks in game. You know.
Yeah. That's cool.
I mean, we get a stopwatch with the command prompt, so so hopefully that works. But and then I think for any concept ship, I don't know, man. I'm really so I don't buy ships, but what I recently started doing is collecting every single ground vehicle. I have every single ground vehicle, and I'm gonna continue doing that. So what I would like to see is an alien, other than the Aponox, I want to see an alien ground vehicle. I want to see a Vandal alien ground vehicle. That kind of competes with either the STV or the Cyclone or some type of that line where they have 4 different variations. That's what I'm currently waiting for. Other than that, the Ranger, that's already been, that's
your holy grail.
Out.
Yeah.
But I just want to see some type of more alien vehicles come into the fray, whether it's from Banu, Vandal, or Xeon. I just want to see more ground vehicles.
Corsair, same question.
Yep.
Favorite ship, your first ship, your favorite ship, and your holy grail ship.
The Freelancer was the first I got because I was in the hauling mentality, and I actually quickly went to a Connie not long after I got one. But then I think my most regular one is also the Mercury. I think I'll throw a Ranger back and take it with me, and if anything, if I see it while I'm on my travel, drop a Ranger down and go for a cruise and have a look around. Often always looking out for race track opportunities. So always try to pack a Ranger with me at any. Sorry, not a Ranger. I play Cyclone. Apologies, a Cyclone. Pack a Cyclone in there, take that around with me. So the Mercury is definitely my go-to regular ride. When I first started Star Citizen, I was all about the space sim environment. Racing only came on a couple of months after I kind of joined the kind of project and saw what was available and what was coming. And then, so I actually really like Pioneer. It's probably my holy grail ship. And the reason why I want that is a couple of reasons. I can make my own checkpoints, even though hopefully they'll give us the opportunity to do it a hell of a lot easier. But building my checkpoints with the Pioneer was something that I thought might be possible. But then I also wanted to write outposts on the side of a planet by deploying hundreds and hundreds of outposts to create a word across the side of a moon or planet and just have a gigantic billboard. Even though we're taking the entire fleet of Pioneers and a whole lot of time and effort, I always thought that was hilarious if we could just write Atmo or whatever on the side of a moon, Pioneers. But it's a long time, but it's always a dream.
I've answered this question every week, so everyone knows it. But I'll do the quick rundown. 315p. My favorite ship is the Cutlass, but it's going to be the Freelancer, and my dream ship changes every week. But since the Atmos Esports boys are here, I'll say Ranger. Ranger. It's Ranger, just because it's the Akira bike, and I want my Akira bike. I love that idea, and especially with CIG adding the underground systems in the future with the procedural interiors. The idea of doing literal underground bike racing through old tram tracks, just give it to me, CIG. I'm waiting for it.
Here's what scares me a little bit, AstroPub. What scares me a little bit is that I feel like when we start playing, wow, I just had a brain fart about what's it called? Starfield.
Starfield, yeah.
I feel like when Starfield comes out, Mr. Chris Roberts gonna have, we got new ideas. Let's start putting them in the game.
Oh gosh.
Especially with the shipbuilding and things like that. And I'm just gonna be like, great, here goes another 2 years. But anyways. But yeah, I feel like that's what's gonna happen because I like how they're building their you can build your own ship and do the modules. I feel like, man, we're gonna have they're gonna get so many ideas out of that game. It's gonna be insane. Oh.
Here's the hoping that they show some restraint for once. I know it's not in CIG's vocabulary, but
stick to the mission. Stick to the mission.
Hold.
Well, the Star Citizen are just gonna do that, but by having hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ships, which they're already in that, they're getting into that space. You pick, there's tons of ships. I know the customization's cool, but they just need to stick to the mission. Stick to the mission.
I think they'll definitely they'll definitely take inspiration from that when it comes to like the modules, because that's really what the shipbuilding system in Starfield is. It's like taking different parts of a ship and putting them together, because it's not really designing from scratch. And I can see CIG really leaning into that aspect with modules to like really go ham on modularization of ships that are modular and ships which can potentially be modular, like the Avenger and stuff like that. I think they'll really lean to that. And the fact that they've already conquered that problem recently is nice. So it's looking up. All right. Next question. I can probably answer this question for both of y'all, but I'll start with you on this one, Corsair from Nova, who asks, what's your favorite type of race? Ground, atmo flight, or vacuum flight?
Ground every day, all day. Ground all day long. I started in the ground space. Space racing was already a thing. It was already kind of a massive thing when I kind of thought about the idea for the Damo Rally, and then even after the Damo Rally, I'm like, I want to stick in that ground racing space because it's not as, there's not as many people doing it, and I wanted to be in that area. So S7 kind of came out of that as well. 100% ground racing all the time. Like I said, I got the cyclone with me at all times, and I'm always looking for opportunities. Yeah, man, ground racing all day long.
Christian?
Man, that's hard. I like both to be both ship. I don't know what vacuum racing is. I'm sorry.
The difference between like atmospheric ship racing and space-based ship racing. Like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think obviously ground is gonna be my number one reason I collect ground vehicles is for that reason. But I think ship racing in general, I think especially in atmosphere, kind of like around Laurelville and some of the tracks that they have, which are all atmospheric, tracks. I think. That's going to be right up there with ground racing for me. I actually like watching the XGR guys, do their stuff and that, in racing and things like that. Cause man, it takes so much skill to do that. It takes so much skill for flying. So.
Yeah, I'm going to be with y'all, and the ground racing seems more interesting to me. Cause I'm not a good pilot. So I don't want to learn to be a good pilot. I mean, I think I'm going to be good enough, but I'm just not going to be a pilot that does lots of racing and stuff like that. It's a lot cooler to do those crazy ground-based vehicle moves and stuff like that. I'm a big fan. I forgot the name of it. There was this anime, which is a space-based sci-fi anime. I think it's like Overdrive or something like that, where the whole plot is the main character is entering a crazy planetary race where like they have these cars and like the animation's nuts. And I love that kind of idea of Redline. Thank you. This chat knows I'm talking Redline. It's a good. Go watch it if you have a chance. It's a movie, so it's pretty short. Cool. But yeah. It's it's pretty brutal. It's kind of like a death race sort of thing, but it's also like its style is so out there and awesome, that kind of stuff. So, nice. All right. Next question from Nova. Next question from Nova asks, "What's your favorite ground vehicle to use in a race? Bike, buggy, rover, or other?" Start with you on this one, Crew.
Well, I mean,
sorry.
Yeah. Currently is. I mean, there's nothing comparing the Cyclone RC because you have that differentiation of using boost. So I'm gonna go with that vehicle. For a vehicle that's currently in game. For anything outside of for anything that's not in game yet, I'm just gonna continue going with the Ranger because that's just something I really like. Just having a 2-grounded vehicle and knowing that it's a bike, I already know is gonna be incredibly fun in game. Like going, maybe hopefully it's fast enough. Maybe it's going 150 ms, but to be able to, like the type of jumps that we already get with ground vehicles, can you imagine how we're going to get those with a 2-grounded vehicle? It's going to be insane. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm a Cyclone RC guy, 100%. The Ranger looks super exciting as well. I think the Cyclone is generally, I think it's easy to say, it's 2/3 of the teams that sign up for the Damo Rally is all Cyclones. It's a much bigger division than everything else. I think it's fairly popular with the community. There's a reason for it. It can feel a bit like you're actually doing some racing. I think it's at a decent speed. It's got good maneuverability. It's fun. The jumps are great. Like it's just a fun vehicle. I love it. Yeah, the range is going to be interesting though. Keen on that.
Awesome. All right. Well, the next question comes from Guns and Glue, who asks, What do you think happened to the event tracker for events like Halloween and the Foundation Festival? We know CIG has the info somewhere on the back end to distribute rewards, so why can't Turbulent show us the data? Is this the same problem as the ship matrix lies that never gets fixed? I don't quite know what you're referring to, Guns and Glue. The event tracker?
I mean, events wise, we get the same thing I think we get the same thing every single year outside of like new events that they put on, like Siege of Orison or Jump Down, which they usually announce a couple weeks in advance or a little bit in advance, and then for Jump Down, they'll do it randomly when they probably see a downtime in the game. But I've never seen an event tracker that they've had before. I mean, I think they've been pretty good with telling us what's upcoming, but yeah, I haven't seen an event tracker.
If it's a roadmap thing, man, then anything's gonna be moved. If it's a scheduling based thing that you're talking about, which it kind of sounds like a road mapping thing. God, who knows? That's up to the dev gods whether that gets moved or fixed or
yeah. If we're talking about like the whole being able to track the events and run the events bespokely, if that was the question, like triggering Jump Down and stuff like that, the reason why. If that's the question, then the reason why is just because they haven't finished the quantum system, because the quantum systems can be the thing that's in control of those. So
yeah, okay. Is he talking like random world events like a lot of other games have where? Yep.
But I mean, they mentioned Guns and Glue mentions Halloween and the Foundation Festival. I don't know quite. Right. So Guns and Glue, kind of expand upon that a little bit if you're still here, and I'll get back to it when I kind of see pops up. All right. Chu asks, allow basic landmarking or waypoint construction coupled with manipulation and basic building around existing entities like ships and geographic features we can combine. That's not a question. That's just a statement. I think we'd all say yes. You're talking to two folks who would 100% would want to make their own racetracks at a given moment. So
yeah, we have mentioned a couple of times that we've submitted requests about placeable check markers with light beams so you can see them from distance and those kind of things, and even like the billboards that like in the concept art for the whole season and whatnot. You put a billboard on the side of that, and you can put a gigantic arrow on it if you could do anything like that. Doing it persistently would be amazing. And and someone asked me about the whole the other day, but like even using, if it ever happens, using that interior transmission of in-game broadcasting to different places as well would be cool. But we've submitted a whole bunch of ideas that we'd love to see to make PU racing a little bit easier to deploy. Mate, our fingers are crossed, and we need to wait a little bit and see how much they want to flesh it out, because it's clearly could be a priority. Plus, we're already doing it for them. It would just make our lives easier to hold these events.
Awesome. Yeah. I think a lot of people would want those things just because having those way markers and stuff like that would be good just for actual navigation, let alone having some sort of ground navigation stuff.
So true. Yep.
All right. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, should CIG take Arena Commander and make it free to play to entice a broader audience? Crew, what do you think?
I think that would be awesome. I think that makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, what about Rec, right? Like, well, what about, AC, but, like, they would still need a game package anyways.
Mm-hmm. Because
if they make Arena Commander free and they have no ship, that makes no sense. So, yeah. They would still need a game package. So at that point, you're already buying into the PU. So if you need a game package, that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I think Arena Commander, like it isn't the game though. Arena Commander isn't the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to experience Star Citizen as an Arena Commander, if that's their only experience with Arena Commander and they don't end up purchasing the game and they don't get into the view or anything like that, they're not advertising the game completely in an effective way. Like a free flyer weekend is still probably a better way to do it than that, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably say. It would make sense, but then they would have to provide some type of free ship or something and have a different login compared to which that's like taking Arena Commander out of the game to make a different entire login for that. I'm not with that. Yeah.
That might be something they do down the line, post Squadron and something like that, to like really promote the game. But they would need to put some actual effort into the Arena Commander team beyond what they're planning on right now, which is cool. I mean, they got an Arena Commander team. I'm down for it. I personally believe that the reason why Arena Commander is getting a huge overhaul is partially because of opportunity, and also because if you looked at the old Squadron 42 package, which are not available anymore, all of them say they come with Arena Commander and Star Marine. So, like, if you want to know what the multiplayer is of Squadron 42, it's Arena Commander. So every copy of Squadron 42 is coming with Arena Commander. So you're going to have, so that's going to be the first taste, and hopefully to get people interested in Star Citizen from jumping over from Squadron 42. And if Squadron 42 is coming to an end in the next couple of years, then they need to have that up and running in a stable state in order to do that. So,
I mean, remember, the whole point of Arena Commander is so people can have a good time without the repercussions of the PU. And you know, if they make it free, then there would have to be some, like, the people that don't want to buy a ship to go in the PU will need to have a way to buy into Arena Commander at some point. But I think it's fine the way it is, because again, Arena Commander is basically for people to have hopefully somewhat of an enjoyment outside of where they can go into a bunker and you know, play FPS with their friends, because if they die in the PU, then that's GG's for your character at that point. So
Corsair, did you kind of hop in on this discussion as well? I don't remember if you.
I did. I was mentioning the SC experience. Didn't really experienced if it's just a Arena. But the other thing I was thinking about was, you know, what was the name of that other AC type of battlefield style event
Theaters
they
of
were
War?
working on that we. Yeah, Theaters of War. Like, you know, they're going to expand upon the kind of game modes they have in that, and you're going to have a series of game modes within set tools. And if Theaters of War and a few other options like that were in that whole package, it could be a sell on its own kind of package as well. And it had the FPS environment. I suppose Star Marine and AC, you're talking about the both of them together, so you would experience two elements of SC. You'd obviously get a chance to do both, but I don't know. Star Citizen's, I guess you get to feel the flight model a little bit in that, and it's a smoother experience. And I don't know. SC's about the view for me in Squadron 42. So, yeah, I don't know. I still think Free Fly gives you that full experience of it. You know, if you're going to get a taste for it, you kind of still need to get in the PU. Yeah.
All right. So the next question comes from Northern Trooper, and I'll let Corsair answer this first one. What would be the perfect ground vehicle for everyday use in gameplay or concept, and why is it the Origin hover tank?
Gosh, man. Well, it's not that compact. I'm gonna go back to the Ranger, man. Every day of the week. Something I can put in a lot of vehicles. Something that is quick to jump on and go. I don't have to walk through a few doors just to get on it. I want something to jump on quick. Something that goes in a lot of vehicles. You got a Ranger with a little spot. So you know, you got something to put a little bit of stuff in to transport. So the Ranger's gonna be it. The Ranger's the one, man. It's such a good vehicle.
It is.
It's so cool. Yeah.
Crew.
It's very cool. But the mechanics though are handy. I will give that. For different terrain. The Ranger might struggle with some terrain, but mate, what do you need it for? What do you? Jeez.
Crew, your thoughts?
Man. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
What's the perfect concept for a ground vehicle, like a daily driver ground vehicle, and why is it the Origin hover tank?
Sorry, they say my bad. Yep.
The Origin hover tank. I don't even know what. I mean,
it's an idea that people have been pushing.
You said your alien Vandal vehicle that you're looking for, man.
They pretty much want an X1 tank version, pretty much. That's exactly what they want. A Gravlev tank now. Man, that sounds just unpleasant. That sounds so unpleasant. I mean, hey, if they want to come out with something like a hover tank, you know, like, what do you call those man, I forgot what they're called. You know, the vehicles in the military with the big fans? I keep for.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh gosh, I think they're just called hovercrafts, aren't they? I think they're just called hovercraft. The LAX,
Hovercraft.
the like landing, it's like LACC
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Those. So I mean, that's what I think about right now. So if you want a hover tank, I mean, I'm looking at those. Something like that big, probably some luxury inside. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be weird. It would have to be a concept that really just it looks good. But man, having a hover tank, like, how would it pick up all that weight? That's all I'm thinking about right now. So
Yeah.
When they brought out that last vehicle, I thought it was going to be an APC, but like a hover APC or something like that,
Yeah.
would be nice as well. Yeah.
yes, LCAX. There you go. That's what
LCAX,
it's
thank
called.
you.
Ah.
I'm biased as well towards the Ranger because I like the Ranger. And with Corsair on that one, it's so compact. Like you can put it on. I think they even showed that you can put it on like a Titan, an Avenger Titan, which means technically you could throw it in like a 315 piece cargo hold.
Yes.
Like that's so versatile and so important. And on top of that, there is not a cool sci-fi in the universe that does not have some form of motorcycle. If your sci-fi universe doesn't have some form of motorcycle, it's not a cool universe.
I agree.
And this is directly inspired by the Akira motorcycle, and that is probably one of the most iconic sci-fi motorcycles that have ever existed. So how can I say no? Like, hands down.
Give us a Ninja Turtle Banu van. I'll take that.
Yeah. There we go.
I'll take that.
Cool. That's cool.
All right.
Take my money.
Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, when CIG implements handling while sitting down, will we see more esports involving weapons with passengers, like death races? Like the idea of having like a passenger with, like, say, like a rail gun firing at the opponents and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think even in our Hurt Locker video, you'll see that happening as well. Like the back door of the Ursa goes down, and actually a dude in there with a railgun shooting out the back, firing other people that are in that space as well. But obviously passenger based turret on the Ursa as well is also something that is already doable. But yeah, just having that ability like GTA to just like pop your arm out the window and shoot a hand weapon, that should technically be included. Like even the rally is still, like you can still fire upon each other. Like there's a lot of options in there because all the vehicles are involved in the rally pretty much. So that all still happens. The ballista and passenger-based weaponry. But we've kind of done a little bit of all of that. I've seen the railgun happen a few times at the Governor, so that's for sure. Man. There's a bit already going on, I think.
All right. Crucian, same question. Do you think we'll see some of those death races as kind of like side passenger stuff?
I mean, yeah, of course. I think Corsair covered most of it. Something that we've been, that I've not requested, but it's something that I would love to see is just like, ArcCorp, obviously it's a massive, city planet. So, I mean, having like a road, like a single road that we can drive on from one point to another, man, that would be cool. So that way, when it comes to that point, like once we get away from that one city, we can start, making it a death race, because if you leave that road, then you're falling into, into the planet city and you probably die. But I would love to see, I think that would really enhance things like the Demo Rally and other events that we come up with. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see that implemented soon, sooner rather than later.
All right. Northern Trooper asks, what should be the limit for creating Frankenstein ground vehicles, like tracks on a Cyclone? I don't think we were going to have any of that, but if we could.
Yeah, that's going into the Starfield area of customization. I definitely don't see that on the cards at this point. But like I said before, like there's going to be a lot of options. You do have track-based options right now. Whether they build, like technically, the wheels of a Cyclone and a Ranger technically are kind of almost a track, but I don't know. Like you may see some track-based medium-sized vehicles still being implemented from a concept point of view in the future. Who knows? But I don't see us being able to edit that ability right now.
What do you
yeah,
think is going to be
yeah.
the extent of customization for vehicles, for ground vehicles? Like we see different tires, like sand tires versus snow tires versus that sort of thing. Different engine blocks, different power plants or whatever. How much customization do you think will go into the vehicles in the future? Or how much you'd like to see?
I don't think ground vehicles are like high on the list of things to worry about the CIG. I think that those things are cool. I think engine capacity and increasing the amount how you can pull out of a vehicle is going to be very important. Something that we want to see with the component adjustments that we get with the initial game release. But yeah, like tire choice would be great. Things like that would be great. You obviously like the module type thing. You're probably going to have some vehicles with that modular capability, but I don't think you're going to be able to have too much customization. But I also don't think we're going to see anything like that anytime soon, because I think ground vehicles are a lower priority as far as we don't have proper navigation in ground vehicles right now. And I know why they don't. The compass thing is a bit of a problem, but I just don't think that ground vehicles will be at level of editable priority for quite some time, if at all. I'm happy to get the repair options and component options coming up just as a starter. But I don't know, Crew, what do you reckon? I'm not sure if we're going to see that for quite some time, if at all.
I mean, when they made the STV, right, they showed that there's different components, you can put weapons on it. I mean, if they did that, I mean, at least to a basic field, like I wouldn't say tires, but having different power plants that can really change how that vehicle runs, whether it gives it a 10% boost or it gives it better handling. I think that would really, really help out, kind of making racing a little bit more exciting, as I mentioned earlier. So I think there should be some type of minimalistic customization to the vehicles, at least, whether it's a couple parts that really make a difference in how the vehicle runs, because right now the STV, even though it's the fastest vehicle, it doesn't have that boost where the Cyclone still tops it. It's not as big as the Cyclone RC. Because say if you're using it for the Daymar Rally, if you bump into something, it takes so long for it to kind of hit that max speed, and because there's so many rocks in the way, you're never going to get to your max speed anyways. As to where the Cyclone, right, those tires are supposed to open up so you can have better traction, and it just runs over the STV at this point. So I'm hoping that they can really differentiate some type of pieces for all the vehicles that we can kind of swap out other than skins, to kind of make it a little bit more exciting, not only for our events, but also for just for people to actually wanted to buy a vehicle. I feel like they would sell more ground vehicles if they had some type of better customization whenever these vehicles come out of concept. Obviously everybody bought the Ranger, but I think outside of that, for a full wheel vehicle, I think people probably would only buy one, as opposed to me but trying to get all of them because I want to use all of them. So
okay. All right, let's move on to the next question, which is from Akuma Tensei Kuro, who asks, hypothetically, what would y'all think if Port Olisar came back in with a similar design to the original, but converted to hangars in place of pads, and different shops for each strut, including clinics, cargo areas, etc., with an inner strut walkway that connected them? Is there any value of having a few stations that you just walk from ASOP to ship and back without any elevators?
Yeah,
actually,
go ahead, Brad.
Corsair.
Yeah, go ahead, Corsair.
RIP. I actually was keen to see a fair amount of the design, or at least the look of Port Olisar remain. I was hoping that they would keep a fair amount of it, but at the same time, it's extremely impractical to just have walkways and not do what they do now. But at the same time, if it's just going to be one station, it's a homage only. It's not really something that they've already heavily thought about and structured every other space station that they've done, orbital space station. So I can't really see them wanting to do it apart from just a sentimental point of view. But at the same time, I thought that maybe we'd be able to retain a fair amount of the look of it. But honestly, yeah, walkways, I just don't see them actually wanting to probably do that. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, we all knew it was going to come, and it's all sad. We're all hurting right now.
Yeah,
it's on its way out. But yeah, God, hitting 2.6 and being a little bit of your best, and I don't know, man. It's yeah, it was inevitable.
Yep.
It was inevitable. Yeah.
Crew, your thoughts? Do you think they could completely overhaul with like walkways and stuff like that for All Star? Think it'd be practical?
Now think about this, and I'll mention this. If the reason why they didn't call Port Seraphim and just call it Port All-Star and just redesign it is because they really wanted to keep Port All-Star the way it was because of how iconic it is, right? If not, why instead of Port Seraphim, why didn't you just call it the new Port All-Star? So I feel like they know exactly what they're planning on doing, and either putting it somewhere in the game or paying a really good homage to it, or maybe, you know, putting it inside a massive building, whatever they want to do. But I think they have a really cool plan for it. That's why they didn't just like rename it, Port Seraphim and just like remade it to Port All-Star. So I think they're gonna have something cool to it. But I think changing it the way it is now, I don't think it's gonna matter, because if they were gonna change any way that Port All-Star was, they were gonna just do it with Seraphim and just call that Seraphim Port All-Star or the new one and then call it a day, right? So I think that they're gonna keep it Port All-Star the way it is and do something very special with it. So I'm very excited to see what they're gonna do.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. I think I know a lot of people are tired of elevators because they think it's immersion breaking or whatever. But
yeah,
the other thing that I know is that the other thing that people complain about is time wasting, and I can't imagine having to run down the length of a corridor in All-Star from one kind of pad section to another. I don't think that's very engaging.
It would get tired really quickly. You'd get tired real quick. Yeah.
So. So I'm sure they'll do something with it. I really hope they do something with it because it's so iconic. It's like it's you see a picture of it and it is effectively one of those symbols of Star Citizen. You know, especially players who've played Star Citizen will recognize it as a station. You know, so. All right, next question comes from Akuma Tensi Kuro, who asks, does anyone know why ground vehicles were not originally introduced with any sort of speed governors like ships and grav bikes? Has CIG said anything about adding function to ground vehicles? I believe that's part of the new overhaul they're doing, but you all may know better than I do on this one. The idea of having, like, you know, however long you push down the accelerator, the faster it goes up. And
I think it's very similar to what I mentioned before. I think ground vehicles in general were a low priority especially when first introduced. Grab bikes are different because they kind of go into two separate kind of areas of ground vehicle and flight, but I just think there was just a low focus on those aspects, the more emergent aspect to ground vehicles in general. I think at this point in time now with the rebuild, they're trying to bring things up to a standard. Before release, they need to get things to a standard where that like those things are quality, and I think that we're gonna see these new changes, and obviously we want to have a look at them when they're implemented. As far as like why they didn't put a governor in, I just think they didn't care at that point in time when ground vehicles were first introduced, and then they just punched out a bunch, and then they're like, okay, well we'll fix this later, and it's pretty much how I think it occurred. But yeah,
group.
I mean, I think it'll be hard to put anything like that in because, like, I mean, I guess you can, but how would you like say if you're a mouse and keyboard player, how can you really, get that, into the vehicle, like I feel like if I'm using, a joystick and a HOTAS, I think that makes sense. But I think outside of that, I don't know how I would implement that into a vehicle because it's just going to make the vehicle kind of accelerate a lot slower and just act different. So I think probably that's why they didn't put anything in there yet. I mean, one thing I would like to see is, power distribution, because obviously if you have different parts of a vehicle, whether it's a power plant, I think power distribution can really, really help because, vehicles don't have shields as well. So I think that'll be something. I'm not sure if it's in game right. I think power distribution is in game right now, but it's not working. So somebody can quote me if I'm wrong. I haven't tested it.
I think you're right.
In a while, but yeah. So other than power distribution, I don't think that that stuff is needed to how hard you're pressing down or anything like that. So
I know it's a big pet peeve of Darj because he's a big racing nut and he loves to he's like I want to be able to have variable, like I push down a button and it slowly builds up and that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Vehicle gear ratios are still important. Like it would be good to see that displayed well, but yeah, just like when you drive your own car, you try someone else's car, it, like has that vibe. But yeah, right, like gear ratios would be interesting. I'd love to see that kind of thing. But like a full manual experience, like that would be cool as well. Just yeah, you've had some hardcore races, full manual experience. I can tell you that. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. There's a couple questions I've kind of skipped here because things like about private lobbies for Arena Commander, which y'all already talked about, how you're looking forward to it, and implementations of Arena Commander and for Atmo and that kind of stuff. So watch the original section if you want to know about that, which is back about an hour ago. All right. Next Outcast asks, do you have any plans to let spectators come and look at racing events in the games, like in the PU, in the future? Would be awesome to be able to watch System 7 race live in game, for example. I will say, I have been part of a observational crew for Daymar Rally, so they do it. Right now it's VIP, but it's mostly because they just want to have. Yeah, they need to have the number of people per server is so low, it's harder to do that. So, of course,
Paul pretty much hit that on the head. It really originally was a server capacity thing. We also have issues with griefing and stuff we need to control, so it is a very tight choice. Like Paul also said, we have had a VIP experience where if you've supported us in particular ways, we've special people come and join us. We've put them on an 890 jump and we've flown around and they get to watch the final section or bits and pieces in the start and whatnot. So we do plan to have a full spectator positioning space as well. But even like the rally is a difficult one because it's such a long course, right? You have to have key points and you're hanging around for a long period of time. S7 is probably a little bit more suitable, like that F1 style. But even doing those in-game broadcasts and transferring the in-game broadcast to another screen within the game for viewing is something that I'd love to see as well. Like the Mako being involved with transmitting that footage to large screen, us having like an in-game broadcast, in-game production. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of options as far as spectating goes, but at this point in time, we've been limited based server space to even think about an actual audience. But we also have the additional issue in the PU of people just wanting to screw with our events, and we need to hold the event first before we consider that as like a serious thing. So yeah.
Okay. Nova asks a question, and I'll start with you on Crucian.
I have another part to his what he says. We do have something coming down the pipeline where we are going to make some updates because we are making a new website for racers to be able to like make profiles, log in, have a history of all the races they've been in, all the events they've been in. And we're going to be releasing, sorry to chill a little bit, but we're going to be releasing some type of like Discord subscription, and then in some of those tiers that we already have, you're going to be because of how space is limited in the server, there are going to be some options where if you're subscribed on Discord in some type of form, then you'll be able to actually get a couple tickets for you and a friend to actually come spectate our race. So that could be that's a kind of way to kind of reward our audience for helping us out with like things like the new website that we're coming out with and things like that. So yeah. Anyways.
Awesome. Well, I was going to ask, this is a simpler question to start with you there, Crew. Nova asks, what's the origin of your name?
That's cool. That's a great question. So, I'm from the Virgin Islands. Okay, I'll stop it there. But I am originally from the Virgin Islands. I was born and raised there since I was 17 years old. Everybody thinks Crucian is a fish, but it's not. Crucian is what we call ourselves in the Virgin Islands, especially in the island of St. Croix. So, I do have an accent, but I don't use it because, talking to AstroPub and Corsair, they're not where I'm from. So when the accent comes out, I'm mostly talking to my family, my brothers, people that I talk to back home. Crucian is pretty much our culture. Like when we say, what kind of food you like? I like Crucian food. When people say, what's your culture? I say Crucian culture. So food culture, and the entire history of the Virgin Islands is Crucian and what we call ourselves. So that's where that name originated from. Also, Cruzan, Cruzan, is Cruzan rum. It actually came from our island, and instead of them calling it Crucian, Crucian, they did it with a Z, which is another way to spell that, and then that's where Cruzan rum originates from. So that's where it's pretty much just a homage back to where I was born and raised.
The culture, yeah.
And the culture for the first 17 years of my life. So that's where that name come from.
Nice. Corsair. Why are you called Corsair? or Core 5A?
It's just it's evolved. Originally it was Corsair, like Corsaire, because all I could get at the time. But this is back when I had a World of Warcraft account, and I've just kept the name ever since, and I've evolved it a little bit. But sometimes you get stuck and you can't get anything. But I kind of stuck with this because I can just go that, and then I can actually have its almost exact spelling by replacing the S. But and then do an underscore Atmo now pretty much every time. But it's just something that I've had for, I don't know, 20 years. So I'm just sticking with it. So yeah, that's it's not quite as important as Crucian, but it is what it is. Yeah.
There's a long story for the AstroPub. But the AstroPub was so my original handle. It's a handle since I've had since I was 16, which is Berserker01. And that had a lot to do with the fact when I was a console gamer, it was my first Xbox Live gamer tag, and I just kept it ever since. And that whole came from 01 doesn't mean anything. It just I needed a number behind it because it's just whatever.
Yep.
Back in the day when you needed numbers. And the name Berserker was more an homage to how I played FPS games. I play FPS games incredibly aggressive, and I like to get up in people's faces and kind of, because I played friends who were much better skilled than I have. So I realized if I could disrupt them in their flow, if I could get in and break up the flow, I could beat them sometimes in games like Halo and Call of Duty and stuff. So that's where the name came from. That's just how I play. To the point where like I don't care if I get. If I die in an FPS match, because if I can at least take them down with me or get them low enough, then I can keep the game more active. But then the AstroPub came about because I originally was running a channel. I was streaming from Berserker01, and I called myself The Station. And the idea came about as like a bar in space, a space bar, as it were. I don't remember why I came up with that. I mean, I used to be a bartender. I wasn't like a bartender for a long time. It was only a couple of months really before I started streaming. But I like the idea because I'm a big fan of Cowboy Bebop, and there's a lot of that kind of vibe in Cowboy Bebop. So I was like, yeah, something like that. And I talked to Grockies, which is a name that I'm sure both y'all have heard at some point. Who I was trying to come up with the idea, and he's like, the station doesn't really sound like a space bar. You need something that's interesting. And so he came up with the idea of gastropubs, which were, at that time a new idea of like a pub that would also serve food.
Pub, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just was like, she was like, well, why don't you just do the AstroPub, or the original is just AstroPub. And the reason why I'm the AstroPub is because there's an AstroPub on Twitter, which has been inactive for 7 years. And it's like a Northern England astronomy club that has like 4 members on it, but they've been squatting on that name forever. So I was like, I have to put because branding was important. So it was always going to be the AstroPub. And so I've just been the AstroPub from then on. So
they're still getting a lot of traffic.
Yes. Corsair and Crucian. A question for you in general. Where does the name Atmo Esports come from?
Aha.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time playing with ideas when we were just the guys that did the Daymar Rally, guys and girls that did the Daymar Rally. That we were. We didn't really have an umbrella name, and then when we introduced the Hearst and Hurt Locker, it became apparent that we're no longer the Daymar Rally people anymore. We need to expand that to something else, and then I think even after that, S7 still came along before we actually had changed it, but. Yeah, obviously we're doing events within the space area. I was looking for something catchy. Atmosphere was something that came up, and just being able to make it short and sweet, and what was available as well. I had to look at every possible channel. For some reason has taken a hell of a. Not, I know why, obviously, but Atmo was still available, so it's just it just kind of evolved. I tried a whole bunch of different names. I can't even remember some of the ones I did try, but it just kind of clicked, and everyone's like, "Yeah, it's great," so we'll just go with that. But it is about atmospheric. So Atmo Esports is what developed and created our umbrella branding. So yeah, I like it. It does roll off the tongue. And then Husker Hard designed all of our logos after the Daymar Rally. He's just about to kind of update our Daymar Rally one to be in conjunction with everything else. And he made the Atmo Esports logos. We got 2, got the full one, the word mark, but he's been involved with forever, as he is with a lot of the community. So You can thank that man for our logos and our videos and all that kind of stuff. So
I will plug him. He has his own Patreon, which I'm a member of as well, and where he does his new screenshots end up over there. And a lot of times, a lot of the thumbnails that I use for various videos are his thumbnails. I've asked him for permission for it and stuff like that. He's a fantastic. Go check him out. He's a big member of the community that you've never heard of, but there's a game that he's played where how many times that his screenshots have ended up on official, not official CIG, but it was journalists use his screenshots for their articles. They'll pull it from without any crediting for him, and it's like he's just like, I just want the credit. You know, I don't care. I'm flattered that you're using my screenshots to talk about official Star Citizen news, but please give me credit. So
he's such a nice guy. He's such a great guy, and I remember bugging Corsim like, yo, we can't use, because from my brain goes into marketing.
Yeah,
that's all. Like, yo, we can't have Daymar Rally for everything, and we're trying to make new events. I was like, bro, we got to come up with something, and he killed it, man. He came up with a great name, Atmo Esports. It evolved pretty good, man, and it's really, really cool brand, and happy to be able to to be here to grow with them has actually been great, and like for our merch stuff too, like we have our Atmo Esports merch, but we also have merch for like all of our other big major events too, which is also cool. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's where the name came from.
All right, we've got 8 questions left, so kind of rolling through some of these. Nick's Outcast asks, in the future, will I be able to go to the AstroPub bar in Star Citizen and watch the Daymar Rally live on TV in the bar? And if so, will Paul will allow betting on the race? If this is a question for both of us, the answer is yes, there will be a physical location, but most likely just be a ship.
We discussed this like quite briefly a couple of times in passing, and it's definitely on the cards. You get us a bar that works, and we get AstroPub in there. Like, who else are we going to get to do that? No one else.
I am the bartender of the verse.
If we ever have a live event, we have to have a pub just for Paul, 100%. You get the space for free, bro.
I'm just gonna hire. I'm gonna hire a professional. I'm gonna hire a professional guy to dress like me and be like, and bartender be with me and just chill in the front of the bar and just be like, oh, you're Paul Shelley.
Yep.
So, yeah, this guy's Paul Shelley, this handsome man who I'm paying $200 an hour for to dress up.
Yeah.
Wait. Hold on. Are we actually gonna have an AstroPub at CitizenCon?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh,
I don't
I
don't have a liquor license in California. I can't.
That's true.
I have. My father ran a restaurant with a bar in California. But I mean, he's not anymore. Oh, get it for me? Yeah, maybe. But and I know the hoops.
Whatever bar is there at the convention, they just need to
call it the AstroPub.
Yeah.
There we go.
You can be the bar back. You don't need a license to be a bar back.
No,
just work there.
I don't want to work. I want to be there for fun.
Be there.
I'm just kidding.
Just visit the bar. Every now and then.
I will. Yeah. I'll show up and demand paperwork as the official. That's my cosplay. I'll be the Imperial Bar Association, Bar and Restaurant Association representative, and just show up and bother the bartenders. Be like, I need to see your credentials. All right, we need to see that you're registered with our guild.
Next Citizen crew, let's just if we get like a nice booth, let's just put an AstroPub in there anyway.
Just put there.
Everyone wears the same thing. It'll be awesome. Yeah.
But no, I think definitely is something that they want and that everyone wants is to be able to like broadcast in game some of these events, because it's not. I'd love to see events just like live events of events going on, so like Xenothreat, someone reporting live from a Xenothreat event, and like as a reporter would be fantastic to have up on on the screen, or people broadcasting their machinima and stuff like that. So but that's the dream. The dream is to be able to go to a race and me set up my ship just outside of the race, or just above the Daymar Rally, and have people come and bet and cheer on their racers. That's cool. So.
Definitely.
All right. Next question comes from Steve That Answer, who asks, would you like to see CIG have a race like a death race in the movie? I think that's kind of what Daymar Rally was supposed to be, even special last year.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, Damar Rally has those elements to it. And we constantly change the rules at the start and the distance of when you can fire and whatnot to kind of increase that capacity. And I think once we can consolidate all races into one start line, it will then become a lot more relevant that it actually is in the race. But you don't really see a lot of it because we have to split across a whole bunch of servers, and not everyone races together. We just have them by division, and even the divisions are split into different servers because there's too many races to hold all together. And then like I don't know, the truck division is probably the best one for it that you'd see the most in, but you really probably wouldn't see it too much in the other divisions anyway. But yeah, technically it's in there. It's in there. It's in the book. There's just not a lot of it happening. Like I've actually practiced when we put the ballista in, like how you would actually destroy other competitors to get that advantage, and it's definitely doable. I don't see a lot of people actually doing it. So once we see all the races come together and we do everything on the server, you'll see some serious mayhem. But Hurst and Herlocker kind of handled that for us as well. So yeah.
Okay. Crew, anything to add for?
No, I think you pretty much got it all.
All right.
But it's like starting a new death race? Probably not. Yeah.
Okay. No. Fastcard asks, when do you think we'll see a racing machinima a la Cannonball Run?
Oh, man. That would be so cool, dude. That would be so cool to do like a racing machinima in Star Citizen, or kind of like do some type of like initial D-vibe, once we have roads and things like that, man. That would be so cool. But yeah, I mean, whenever they, I think whenever vehicles get a little bit better and feel a little bit more realistic, to be honest, I think that would be, better overall. But I mean,
we have small amounts of it. Yeah. With small amounts of it. There's been a couple of docos done, a couple of documentaries done. Not that it's machinima, but like it's interesting to what footage they've used. And then obviously the trailers, the two trailers that Hustle have done have a little bit of that element to it. But yeah, like spending even more time and doing that, I don't think it'd be done by us. So I don't think we have like the capacity to plan and construct a machinima on top of what we already do. It would have to be someone who's invested, loves it. I know there's a couple of machinima members, the camera team, that work on a lot of the other stuff that occurs in the verse. And if they were ever involved in something, it's definitely possible. Like if someone has enough passion to direct and write one and then get the camera team involved, the camera team would love to be all over that. So, yeah.
I'm trying to find HubNet would be the people I'd think about would do that, and I know a lot of HubNet works with the Atmo and stuff like that. So that's Zark's team and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, Zark. Yep.
All right. Next question comes from Steve the Dancer, who asks, would you like to see a race like NASCAR with ramps and obstacles and a maintenance pit for refuel and repair? Kind of talked about that a little bit, but we just kind of said, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like a larger version of BTR. It's kind of that a little bit. Yeah. That's what I'd like to see. Because coming from Australia, like I grew up watching V8 cars. It's like touring cars. It's like souped up V8 sedans that are from two manufacturers, which is similar to NASCAR but completely different because it's like an actual track. It's not just a ring-based circuit. But like I grew up on that, and I'm also an F1 fan as well. But that's kind of how I got into racing. My dad would watch V8 supercars, and I'm all for that kind of style of racing, but it'd have to be an AC type thing or what they've done with BTR. So we got a lot of options.
I've always been a big fan of the big Coliseum style racing, because this is supposed to be space run. Let's give me some Coliseum racing with vehicles. Yep.
You can put your spectators in then. Chuck them in a box seat. You're good to go. Yeah.
Somebody said NASCAR has ramps. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. But this is space NASCAR, all right? We got some ramps and explosions, As long as I can have my beer in the center ring and being like, woohoo! All right. And this question's kind of already been asked, but I guess we're going to go over like that. Fastcard asks, if you like real life racing, what's your favorite type of racing car? NASCAR, Indy, Formula One, etc. I've been introduced recently to European truck racing, and that is my new favorite thing, which is like they take actual truck cabs, but it's not like drag racing. It's like an actual course circuit, and they're running these trucks at like 90 kilometers an hour, 100 kilometers an hour around these racetracks, and I'm just like, that's nuts. That's insanity. I want to see more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I grew up on V8 supercars and loved that. Like I was a Holden fan because that's the family's choice of manufacturer and vehicle. But I'm also very interested in the electric Formula One, the E1 stuff as well. That's going to be an interesting kind of future racing, and that kind of acceleration and speed's pretty intense. So I'm interested to see how that those kind of races evolve and how popular they get over current gas-based vehicles. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm interested in that.
Crew?
Yeah, okay, fine.
I think the only thing that has interested me, I honestly, I'm not very interested in racing at all. I think the only thing that has really interested me is actually the Dakar Rally because of Corsair. I think that it's so funny because we always relate to it and we like, hey, this is kind of the shots we want, the helicopter coming around. So I think the only thing I would ever like to see would be like going to the Dakar Rally. Maybe one day, like that team would be like, hey, we got to get these guys. They're doing what we're doing in game and bring them out to the real Dakar Rally. But, that'll probably be the only thing. Outside of that, I really don't watch any type of racing. Don't get me wrong. I love watching like people, like build broken down cars on YouTube, and I watch a lot of, anime racing, but outside of like racing, I'm into Star Citizen racing, baby. That's what I'm into.
Shout out to John Crew. For those of you who don't know, John Crew and his Project Twingo. Have you heard about Project Twingo, Crucian?
No.
Oh, what's that?
So John Crew, who's the lead character design, he has an old Twingo car that he's been souping up from scratch.
Yeah.
So
okay, like, I didn't know that was you. It's funny because they say that Star Citizen is not really big in Japan, right? And
that's a lie, but yeah.
No, it's not. They said it's not as like prominent as like the other markets. They feel like the other markets are definitely a lot bigger. And I told them, well, you want to be, if you want Star Citizen to be famous in Japan, make a manga out of it. I bet you it blows up so quickly because like I read a lot of manga and there's not that much space
manga
stuff in that space. And to make a Star Citizen one out there, whether it's, about the world, like, dude, it would be the coolest thing ever. So, make a manga. So.
I guarantee you there's enough mangaka out there who have interest in space and science fiction that if you introduced them to the Star Citizen's universe, they'd go for it.
Yes, 100%.
And 100%. If it's I've also been a big fan, and this is a kind of off track. Like, I'm a personal believer that Cyberpunk the video game was entirely saved because of the timing of the release of the Cyberpunk anime. And there's enough crossover between gamers and anime fans.
I would say so.
That what happened was they released a patch to stabilize the game the same day as the anime came out. And so a lot of people started watching the anime and were like, this is cool. Wait, this is what Cyberpunk is? And then got into Cyberpunk, the game, after that.
Exactly.
And I think
I totally agree with you there.
So I think if CIG did something similar, we know that Chris Roberts isn't against using animation. The Wing Commander Academy TV series, which is kind of garbage, but it's he's done it before. He's worked with animators in the past, and having CIG do something similar for like Squadron 42 or something like that would 100% increase the awareness of Star Citizen and Squadron 42 outside of just the kind of space enthusiast market. So.
No, this is all me, but I would say, like, imagine you have, a manga of Star Citizen, and then on the last inner page, it just say play Star Citizen today with a link, like, dude, people will be all over that. And not even with manga, go make a gacha game, bro. Like, I'm not saying do that, but there's just so many options to kind of expand on the game itself. So
you do not know about so this is a long story short. Here we go. So, as a joke, I decided that I was going to, because I'm a big fan of, I'm not a huge fan of Canticle and Azure Lane, but I recognize what those are. And there's a couple of other, I forget the name of them, but I always thought those were interesting ideas because of the kind of stories they were telling. And I joked around that I said I might screw around and hire artists to turn Star Citizen ships into waifus. And John Crew
Oh,
got
yeah.
John Crew got tagged into this, and he said, "Please don't." I'm like, John, now I have to do it. You told me not to, so I have to do it now.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, I have developed, and this is I haven't really fully talked about this, but I have developed my own fictional gotcha game in the universe of Star Citizen called Quantum Stellar, where I've hired artists to create models of ships based off of ship models. And I have a whole lore backstory about how it got created and also stuff like this. And at some point, I may actually reach out to other members of the Star Citizen community and say, let's make a gotcha game with these characters for free and release it as part of like a Star Citizen.
So cool.
If I can do that, I'll figure out how to do that. But if you're interested, like right now, my Patreons on the Astro Historian get those for free. I might, but I've been trying to like collect them in a one place, so I might figure out a place to collect all those images and put them out there for free. But there's a ton of them that I've commissioned from. One is Index Regalia, who's a fan, who's a kind of a fan of Star Citizen, and the other one is from TJ, who's another Star Citizen fan. Both of them are kind of semi-professional to professional. I think TJ's a professional illustrator, so it's been cool to work with Star Citizen fans to make some of those things. So,
hey, you've seen our Ranger waifu.
Yes,
You've
yes.
seen our Ranger waifu.
Oh yeah, I forgot you talked about
coming.
that. Yeah.
Yes. More's coming soon. Don't worry.
So, I feel insulted, not because he's doing it. I feel insulted because I don't see the sauce. The sauce is on my Twitter if you want to see it. I have to put up to figure out some sort of social media. Maybe I'll do an Instagram for it so y'all can see all the images and stuff like that. But
That'd be cool. Yep.
I'll do that before this goes live, and I'll post it for all y'all to see, for those of you who are wondering. So I'll have the link in the description for you if you want to see that stuff. All right. Next question comes from Ashhole, who asks, do you think CIG will sell numbers/liveries for their racing ships? Like being able to add numbers to your... the ability to add like numbers to racing ships and vehicles.
Oh, okay.
So like, 01, 05, 42, custom stuff and like custom liveries.
Yeah,
I mean,
be awesome.
we have custom paint in some type of form or way, so I don't see why not having numbers on there would be, cool. But at the same time, it's like if they want to keep a ship where whatever number is on that ship is just like an iconic part of that ship, then maybe that ship gets blocked away or that variant gets blocked from, putting in its own number. But I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, I don't see why they need to sell it. They could just make it part of that entire paint bundle at that point.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely have the ability for like naming, so I wouldn't be surprised if they could just put a name that's just a number.
Yep. Yeah, we've craved the ability to be able to tell the difference between racing teams, and the bigger the races get. Yeah, and like the liveries they put in that you can just purchase has helped a little bit. Honestly, if like a numbering system would be incredible that you could just read the number, because a lot of teams are going to have the same colors anyway, so this would make that just so much easier to handle. And they do have racing variants of like every freaking vehicle there is, so even if you had the option racing version only or something like that. I see them maybe doing that, but yeah, numbers would be cool. It would be super cool. I don't see that being an impossibility. Yeah.
All right. Fastcart asks, thoughts about these 3 words: Titan Suit Racing. Do y'all know what the Titan suit is?
Yeah. Why race them when we can fight them?
Yeah.
Exactly. They're gonna be fighting.
No like,
giant robo throwdowns, baby.
Titanfall is by far the top FPS in my book, period. Okay, even though
I'm with you.
Play Titanfall is one of the best FPS games, and that's where Apex Legends came out of. In Titanfall, I love that game to death, but there's no sense of racing them when I love to battle them.
Yes.
So just like just imagine like a 4v4 like Titan suit battle. That would be better. That gets me exciting.
Put that in a gladiatorial arena for Space Room. Let's have giant robots smashing each other in that.
Oh, that's what Hurdle's going to turn into. It's just going to be the Titan suit wars, and it's just going to be the FPS version of that for sure. Yeah, man, I like Titan suits are heavy chat with everybody. I love them. I'd be keen to play with them and mess around with them and see how how it works, and yeah, I'm super keen on that particular item. It'd be awesome.
All right.
The
Go ahead.
the first thing I think about when people talk to me about tie-in suits, the first thing I think about is like they're gonna just look at Avatar and make those same ones, like just a skeleton suit with a person, and not make anything like too intricate like Gundam at all. So
yeah,
that's how I feel.
Maggles Muppet asks, when do you think we will get tameable mounts in Star Citizen, and how soon after do you expect to have microtech moose races?
Ooh.
Well, they got to shout, the fauna, so we'll see what happens with that. But it may, I would dare say they would do that. I would dare say that they would do that.
Oh yeah.
And when it happens, we'll definitely consider racing them. That's cool. It's technically ground racing, unless they do flat versions as well. So yeah, man, that would excite me. Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
I know enough. There's enough Final Fantasy nerds at CIG that like the idea of like something Chocobos, like a chocobo racing, like something.
Racing,
Personally, I want something like a space emu that you can tame, so you could ride a space emu around, or just because crazy stuff like that. Everyone loves those. So.
Yeah.
Man, is like having a tamer or a zookeeper in the game is gonna be a thing? Because man, like I know we're supposed to have animals and this game's gonna be wild when everything's in.
I mean, in theory, there's nothing stopping it, especially if having like a zoo that you can like, or missions where you can go capture animals and bring them in for study and stuff like that. So like it's all theoretically possible.
They're so gonna do that.
Yeah,
they're gonna do that. I reckon.
Like if that sandworm is ever real in Daymar, like the Daymar Alley, they don't even have to worry about each other themselves. They don't have to worry about that sandworm because
it's 200 it's 200 miles long. By the way, that sandworm. We know that it's huge. God. It's like it's bigger than most of the landing zones in cities. Like that's how big that thing is.
That's large.
Yeah.
Large.
All right. Nova asked the last question, which is that shirt a random pattern, or is it the topographical map of a section of the Daymar Rally? Y'all's shirts.
So it's just a random topography design that we came up with that we use across all of our merch. So we have 4 different events. So we use so Daymar is that salmon type color. So we use the topography for that salmon type topography and that color, and then we use for System 7 we use red. For Fighter Flight we use the purple and pink gradient topography. So it's just a random topography. It has nothing to do with like a design or anything like that. So
each year change the designs and have kind of like a collection for the year. So this is just for this year. It'll go away next year. We'll have a different style, and every year's a little bit different.
Awesome. All right, well, that's the last question from chat. Thank you so much for joining us here. Thank you to Corsair and Crucian. Make sure you go to atmo.gg and make sure to check out Corsair and Crucian on their various social medias, just under the same names. And if you enjoy this, make sure you catch us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you come on and ask your own questions for each cast member. We have new cast members every week. And make sure as well, if you're watching this after the fact, subscribe, hit the like button. It means a lot. And of course, comment down below with any of your questions or comments. Is always helpful with the YouTube robots to keep us floating and everything. When's the next Atmo Esports broadcast for them? You have a schedule for it yet, or is it?
So practice.
Yeah, we have practices July 22nd and August 5th for Fighter Flight, but the next big main broadcast is going to be on August 19th for the first round of Fighter Flight. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you